Admiral Trell watched through the viewport as the remnants of the Allied fleet gathered around Haven Station. The massive space station, once a bustling hub of interstellar commerce, now served as the last refuge for 6 sentient species facing extinction. The Vorn Imperium had conquered nearly 3/4 of known space in just 8 standard years, their biomechanical warships cutting through defensive lines like a scythe through grain. "Status report," Trell demanded, his 4 eyes blinking. In sequence, a nervous tic he'd developed since the fall of his homeworld. "Not good, Admiral," Commander Lyra replied, her translucent skin pulsing with anxiety. "We have 38 combat-capable vessels remaining. Ammunition reserves at 17%. Medical facilities overflowing with wounded." Trell's primary heart sank. The Allied forces of the Galactic Concordance had fought valiantly, but the Vorn's technological superiority was overwhelming. Their ships could regenerate damage, their weapons could penetrate any known shielding, and their troops fought with a hive mind efficiency that made conventional tactics useless. "The Council is assembling to discuss terms of surrender," Lyra added quietly. Trell's secondary heart nearly stopped. "Surrender? After all we've sacrificed?" "The alternative is extinction, sir. The Vorn fleet will arrive within 48 hours. We cannot evacuate Haven in time, and we cannot defeat them in battle." Trell slumped into his command chair, the weight of impending defeat crushing his normally rigid posture. 3 billion refugees waited on Haven, the last survivors of once proud civilizations. The Pelleran, masters of energy manipulation. The Zith, unparalleled geneticists. The Muvari, whose psychic abilities once made them the peacekeepers of the galaxy. The Drell, his own people, engineers and mathematicians without equal. The Tassans, whose understanding of quantum physics had revolutionized space travel. And the Soro, whose cultural and artistic achievements were the envy of all spacefaring races. All that remained of 6 ancient civilizations, about to be assimilated or exterminated by the Vorn Collective. "There must be something we haven't tried," Trell muttered, more to himself than to Commander Lyra. "We've exhausted every option, Admiral, every strategy, every weapon, every diplomatic channel." Trell's communication band chimed. "Admiral, urgent message from Long-Range Sensor Array 7. Put it through." A harried-looking Zeth technician appeared on the screen. "Admiral, we've detected an unknown vessel approaching at FTL speeds. It doesn't match any known configuration." Trell straightened. "Vorn Advanced Scout?" "Negative, sir. It's coming from unexplored space. Sector 19G. Trell and Lyra exchanged looks of confusion. Sector 19G was a sparse region with no known sentient life, deemed too resource-poor for colonization. "Time to intercept?" "At current velocity, 3 hours, sir." "Could it be help?" Lyra asked, a dangerous hint of hope in her voice. "From where?" Trell countered. "We've contacted every spacefaring civilization in charted space." "Perhaps uncharted space?" Lyra suggested. Trell considered this. The galaxy was vast, and the Concordance had explored only a fraction of it. But what race could possess technology advanced enough to challenge the Vorn? "Maintain alert status. Direct all functioning sensor arrays to track the approaching vessel. I want to know what we're dealing with before it arrives." As the bridge crew hurried to comply, Trell felt something he hadn't experienced in months: curiosity. Whatever this vessel was, it represented an unknown factor. Perhaps the last unknown factor in a war that had become all too predictable in its inevitable conclusion. "And delay the surrender, Council," he added. Tell them we may have a development worth waiting for." The mysterious vessel dropped out of FTL on the edge of the Haven system, with enough energy displacement to trigger every proximity. Alarm on the station. Trell rushed to the command center, where a holographic projection of the newcomer rotated slowly above the strategic table. "Magnify," he ordered. The image expanded, revealing a ship unlike any Trell had ever seen. Massive and angular, it lacked the organic curves of Vorn bioships or the elegant symmetry of Concordance vessels. Instead, it appeared almost brutalist in design, all hard edges and reinforced plates. Its hull bore scars and patches, evidence of battles fought and survived. "Size comparison?" Trell asked. "Approximately 1.8 kilometers in length," a sensor technician replied. "Rough mass estimate puts it at 3 times the displacement of our largest dreadnought." Weapons. Difficult to determine, Admiral. Its energy signatures don't match our database. But there are numerous protrusions that could be weapon emplacements. Trell studied the vessel with mounting fascination. Life signs? Yes, sir. Biological readings indicate... Wait, that can't be right. The technician recalibrated his instruments. Sir, if these readings are accurate, the ship is crewed by a single species. This revelation sent murmurs rippling through the command center. All advanced civilizations in known space practiced integration, with multiple species working together. According to their natural aptitudes, a single species crew was primitive, almost barbaric. They're hailing us, Admiral, Communications Officer Dren announced. Put them through. The holographic display shifted to show the interior of the foreign vessel's bridge. Standing at its center was a bipedal being with pinkish-beige skin, no visible exoskeleton, and a tuft of dark material atop its head. Its body was encased in a dark uniform adorned with unfamiliar insignia. This is Captain Marcus Reed of the Earth ship Dauntless, the being said, its mouth forming sounds that the translators struggled to process. We received your distress signal and have come to offer assistance. Trell stepped forward, all four eyes focused on this strange alien. I am Admiral Trell of the Galactic Concordance. What species are you? And how did you intercept our distress call? It was tightly encrypted. The alien, Reed, produced a facial expression that exposed white, bone-like structures in its mouth. The translator suggested this might be a friendly gesture. We are humans, from the planet Earth in what you call Sector 19G. As for your signal, encryption is something of a specialty for us. We've been monitoring your war with the Vorn for some time. Monitoring? Lyra interjected. For how long? Long? Enough to know you're losing, Reed replied bluntly. Long enough to develop countermeasures against Vorn technology. Trell's hearts beat faster. Countermeasures? That's impossible. The Vorn assimilate all technology they encounter. They adapt to every weapon used against them. That's been your experience, yes, Reed acknowledged. But humans have a different approach to warfare. Captain Reed, Trell said carefully, I appreciate your offer of assistance, but you have one ship. The Vorn fleet will arrive within 45 hours with hundreds of vessels. Reed's expression changed again, this time pulling the corners of its mouth upward. Admiral, I understand your skepticism, but this isn't just any ship. The Dauntless carries the combined military technology of humanity, a species that spent most of its history fighting itself. We've had to become very good at finding new ways to kill things. The brutal honesty of this statement stunned the command center into silence. We request permission to dock with Haven Station, Reed continued. My technical team can brief yours on our defensive capabilities. Trell hesitated only briefly. Permission granted, Captain Reed. Welcome to Haven. The docking bay fell silent as Captain Reed and his delegation of 12 humans stepped off their shuttle. Trell had assembled representatives from all 6 concordant species to greet them. The humans varied in coloration and size, but all shared the same basic physiology, and all moved with a disturbing confidence that seemed incongruous with their biological fragility. Admiral Trell, Reed said, extending an upper limb in what the translator identified as a greeting ritual. Thank you for your trust. Trell completed the ritual awkwardly, finding the human's skin temperature surprisingly warm. You'll forgive our caution, Captain. We've never encountered your species before. Deliberate on our part, a female human explained. I'm Commander Aisha Patel, Intelligence Officer. Earth has maintained a policy of non-interference while we assess the galactic situation. Non-interference? Scoffed Counselor Vex, the Pellerin representative. You watched billions die. Reed's expression hardened. We monitored a conflict between vastly superior technological powers. Earth only achieved interstellar travel 30 years ago. We needed time to prepare. And now you believe you're prepared? Trell asked. We are, Reed confirmed. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology, it's our adaptability. We've dedicated our resources to studying the Vorn, identifying weaknesses your people overlooked. The delegation moved to a secure conference room, where a human with gray hair activated a holographic display showing detailed schematics of Vorn bioships. Dr. Elias Morris, chief scientist, the human introduced himself. The Vorn have 3 critical vulnerabilities you've failed to exploit. The Zith scientist Ziv bristled. We've studied them for decades. With respect, Morris replied. You've studied them like scientists. We studied them like predators. He manipulated the hologram. First, their neural network requires constant quantum communication. Disrupt that and their hive mind fragments. Impossible, Ziv insisted. Their quantum entanglement systems are beyond our technology. Another human, darker-skinned and wearing a different uniform, stepped forward. Lieutenant Commander Jamal, Wilson, electronic warfare. Not beyond ours. We've weaponized quantum decoherence specifically for this purpose. Second, Morris continued, their regenerative hull technology relies on specific radiation frequencies for cellular activation. Block those frequencies and they can't repair damage. Trell leaned forward. And the third vulnerability? A stocky human female answered. Major Elena Sokolov weapons systems. Their defenses are calibrated against energy weapons and smart munitions. We use neither. She placed a small cylindrical object on the table. This is a depleted uranium kinetic penetrator. No electronics, no energy signature. Just mass and velocity. Their hulls can't adapt to basic physics. The Concordance officials exchanged skeptical glances. You expect us to believe primitive projectile weapons can defeat the Vorn? Counselor Vex demanded. Reed smiled. We brought a demonstration. The Vorn sent an advanced scout. It's currently at the edge of the system, analyzing your defenses. With your permission, we'd like to engage it. Trell's 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession. 1 human ship against a Vorn scout? Even their smallest vessels have decimated our fleets. Admiral, Reed said quietly. Humanity spent millennia perfecting the art of killing. When we couldn't outthink our enemies, we overwhelmed them. When we couldn't overwhelm them, we outlasted them. The Dauntless isn't just a ship. It's a testament to humanity's darkest talents. Something in Reed's tone, a controlled intensity, gave Trell pause. Against all logic, he found himself believing this strange alien. Very well, Captain. Show us what humans can do. The command center of Haven Station had never been so crowded. Representatives from all 6 concordant species gathered around the tactical display, watching as the Dauntless accelerated toward the lone Vorn scout vessel. The bioship, shaped like a manta ray crossed with a spider, had already detected the human vessel and was moving to intercept. Your ship is broadcasting its approach, Lyra observed worriedly. The Vorn will analyze every frequency. Captain Reed, standing beside Trell, nodded. That's intentional. Let them adapt to what they can see. Standard Vorn tactical protocol, Commander Patel explained. They'll scan, analyze, and configure countermeasures against our most obvious systems. On the display, the distance between the 2 ships rapidly decreased. The Vorn scouts' organic weapon pods began to pulse with energy, a precursor to firing. Your shields won't withstand their disruptor beams, warned Ziv, the Zith scientist. Wilson, the electronic warfare specialist, merely smiled. We're not using conventional shields, the Vorn fired. Everyone in the command center held their breath, expecting to see the Dauntless crippled by the devastating weapons that had destroyed countless Concordance vessels. Instead, the energy beams seemed to warp and dissipate meters from the human ship's hull. What just happened? Trell demanded. Gravity lens, Dr. Morris explained. We're bending space-time around the ship. The energy follows the curve rather than impacting our hull. The Vorn fired again, this time with a more concentrated beam. Again, the attack warped around the Dauntless. They're adapting, Lyra observed. The beam intensity increased by 40%. Now it's our turn, Reed said quietly. He activated his communication device. Dauntless, execute Operation Fisherman. The human ship suddenly released dozens of small objects that accelerated toward the Vorn scout at tremendous speed. The Vorn attempted evasive maneuvers, but the objects altered course to follow. Simple missile technology, scoffed Counselor Vex. The Vorn will neutralize them easily. But the objects weren't behaving like missiles. They detonated before reaching the Vorn ship, creating a strange field effect that rippled across space. Quantum disruptors, Wilson explained. They're breaking the entanglement between the ship and the collective. On the display, the Vorn vessel's movements became erratic, its previously coordinated weapon systems firing randomly. Its organic hull began pulsing with irregular patterns. "You've confused it," Trell realized. "We've isolated it," Patel corrected. "A Vorn ship without the collective mind is like one of your species with a severed spinal cord. It knows it should function, but it can't coordinate its actions." The Dauntless accelerated, closing the distance to the floundering Vorn scout. Rather than firing energy weapons, a series of small ports opened along its hull. "Firing solution locked," came a voice over the communication channel. "Kinetic Battery 1, execute." What followed defied the Concordance officials' understanding of space combat. The Dauntless unleashed a barrage of solid projectiles that crossed the void at incredible velocities. When they struck the Vorn vessel, they didn't explode or emit energy. They simply tore through the organic hull with brute physical force. "Depleted uranium penetrators," Major Sokolov explained. "No energy signature to adapt to. Just Newton's laws of motion." The Vorn scout, leaking atmosphere and vital fluids, attempted to regenerate its damaged hull. But the Dauntless fired another type of projectile that burst against the bioship's surface. "Anti-regeneration compound," Morris said. "It blocks the specific frequencies their cellular repair mechanisms require." Within minutes, the once fearsome Vorn scout hung motionless in space, its systems failing, its connection to the collective severed. The command center erupted in stunned silence, then cautious whispers. "One ship," Trell said softly. "Your one ship did what our entire fleet could not." Reed's expression remained grim. "This was just a scout. The main fleet will be more challenging." "But you've proven your approach works," Lyra said, hope evident in her voice. "We've proven humanity's approach works," Reed corrected. "And now we need to teach it to you." The following 36 hours transformed Haven Station into a hub of frenetic activity. The humans established teaching centers in every major hangar, training Concordance engineers and soldiers in their unusual combat techniques. Meanwhile, the Dauntless docked with the station, its cargo holds opening to reveal stockpiles of weapons and technology. In the main engineering bay, Trell watched as Dr. Morris directed the modification of a Pelleran cruiser. Human technicians were installing what they called railguns, primitive-looking but devastatingly effective kinetic weapon systems. "Your energy output is insufficient," Morris was explaining to the Pelleran engineers. "You need to redirect power from your tertiary shield generators." "Those shields are essential," protested the chief engineer. "They're useless against the Vorn," Morris countered. "Better to have weapons that can hurt them than shields that can't protect you." Nearby, Major Sokolov was instructing Drell weapons officers in the loading and firing of kinetic penetrators. "Don't overthink it," she insisted. "Aim for their sensor clusters and propulsion nodes. When those are compromised, target their central ganglia." Trell approached Captain Reed, who was reviewing tactical simulations with Commander Patel. "Your people work quickly," he observed. Reed nodded. "Necessity. Our history is filled with examples of civilizations that didn't adapt fast enough to survive." "A violent history," Trell suggested. "Undeniably," Reed agreed without shame. "But it taught us valuable lessons. Humans excel at turning disadvantages into strengths." "Like your physiological fragility?" Lyra asked, joining the conversation. Patel laughed. "Exactly. We have no natural armor, no claws, no significant strength compared to Earth's apex predators. So we developed tools and tactics. We became the ultimate generalists in a world of specialists." "And yet, you developed spaceflight so recently," Trell mused. "The youngest species here achieved interstellar travel 4 centuries ago." "We were busy," Reed said with a hint of dark humor. "Fighting each other, mostly. Nothing accelerates technological development like warfare." Trell's communicator beeped. "Admiral, we've detected the Vorn fleet. They've altered course and increased speed. New estimated arrival, 8 hours. Reed's expression turned grim. "They've realized something happened to their scout. We need to accelerate our preparations." 8 hours? Lyra's translucent skin paled further. "That's not enough time to modify all our vessels." "Then we prioritize," Reed decided. "Focus on your most maneuverable ships first. The Dauntless will coordinate, providing quantum disruption coverage while your vessels deliver the kinetic payloads." Trell acknowledged the logic but felt compelled to address the obvious. Captain, even with your technology, the Vorn outnumber us 10 to 1. The modifications may not be enough. Reed's eyes narrowed, and Trell recognized an expression that transcended species differences. Determination. Admiral, throughout human history, we've faced overwhelming odds. The Greeks at Thermopylae, the RAF during the Battle of Britain, the Mars colonial defense during the Deimos insurgency. What these victories had in common wasn't superior numbers or even technology. It was asymmetric thinking. The Vorn expect you to fight as you've always fought, Patel added. They've adapted to your tactics, your technology, your thinking. They haven't adapted to ours. Lieutenant Commander Wilson approached with a data tablet. Captain, we've finished analyzing the Haven defense grid. With modifications, we can convert 50% of the orbital platforms to quantum disruptors. Reed nodded. Make it happen, and get the civilian ships ready for evacuation, just in case. Evacuation? Trell's secondary heart skipped a beat. You told us you could defeat the Vorn. I said we could fight them, Reed corrected. And we will. But humanity has survived this long by never betting everything on a single battle. He placed a hand on Trell's shoulder, a gesture the translator indicated was meant to convey reassurance. We prepare for victory, Admiral, but we plan for survival. In that moment, Trell understood something fundamental about these humans. They weren't just warriors. They were survivors. They had turned their evolutionary disadvantages and violent history into a ruthless pragmatism that the Vorn, for all their collective intelligence, might never comprehend. 6 hours until we're ready for battle stations, Reed announced. Let's make them count. The Vorn fleet emerged from FTL travel in a choreographed sequence that would have been beautiful were it not so terrifying. 200 bioships arranged in a 3-dimensional lattice formation, their organic hulls pulsing with energy as they communicated across the collective mind. At the center of the formation was the command node, a massive structure twice the size of any other vessel, coordinating the fleet's movements with perfect efficiency. In contrast, the defense force assembled around Haven Station appeared chaotic and disorganized. 38 concordance vessels of varying designs, hastily retrofitted with human weapons technology, moved in seemingly random patterns. The Dauntless took position at the vanguard, its angular form stark against the organic curves of its allies. The Vorn are initiating their standard opening protocol, Commander Patel reported from her station in Haven's command center. They're analyzing our formation, looking for weak points. Let them look, Reed replied. Admiral Trell, are your ships in position? Trell consulted the tactical display. All vessels report ready, Captain. Though I must confess I do not fully understand your battle plan. Understanding isn't required, Reed said. Just trust and precise timing. The Vorn fleet began its advance, the outer vessels accelerating first in what would typically be the beginning of an envelopment maneuver that had decimated concordance formations in previous engagements. They're deploying as expected, Wilson confirmed. Quantum communication traffic increasing as they coordinate their attack vectors. Reed's expression was stone. Execute Phase 1. The Dauntless suddenly accelerated toward the approaching Vorn fleet, seeming to commit the suicidal error of charging directly into their formation. The Vorn, perhaps confused by this apparent tactical blunder, focused their attention on the human vessel. They're taking the bait, Patel said. Collective attention shifting to analyze the Dauntless. When the Dauntless reached a precise distance from the Vorn fleet, it deployed hundreds of quantum disruptors. Far more than it had used against the Scout. The devices detonated in a carefully calculated pattern, creating a wave of quantum interference that washed over the Vorn formation. The full effect was immediate and dramatic. The perfectly synchronized movements of the Vorn ships faltered. Their formation began to break apart as individual vessels lost their connection to the collective mind. Now, Admiral, Reed ordered. Trell gave the command, and the concordance vessels attacked, not as a unified fleet, but as individual hunters. Each ship targeted a specific, disoriented Vorn vessel, closing distance rapidly and unleashing barrages of kinetic penetrators from their newly installed railguns. On the tactical display, Trell watched with a mixture of awe and horror as the battle unfolded according to Reed's plan. The Vorn, masters of adaptation against traditional warfare, found themselves unable to counter the brutally simple physics of hypervelocity projectiles. Their ships, disconnected from the collective intelligence that normally coordinated their defenses, reacted too slowly to the unconventional attack. The command node is attempting to re-establish quantum coherence, Wilson reported. They're adapting to our disruptor frequency. As expected, Reed said calmly. Phase 2, the Dauntless, which had been holding position at the edge of the engagement, now moved with startling speed toward the Vorn command node. As it approached, it deployed not disruptors, but a new weapon, a series of devices that attached themselves to the bioship's hull. What are those? Trell asked. Resonance amplifiers, Morris explained. They're detecting and magnifying the command node's own quantum signals. The Vorn vessel began to convulse, its organic structure pulsing erratically. Across the battlefield, the effect cascaded through what remained of the quantum network, causing similar reactions in the connected bioships. They're experiencing a feedback loop, Patel explained. Like a deafening screech through an audio system, but across their neural network. The Concordance vessels pressed their advantage, focusing their fire on the disoriented Vorn ships. One by one, the bioships succumbed to the relentless barrage of kinetic weapons, their hulls breached, their systems failing. The command node is attempting emergency shutdown of quantum communications, Wilson reported. Too late, Reed said with grim satisfaction. They've already transmitted the feedback signal across their entire network. On the display, the massive command node began to fragment, its structure breaking apart from within as its own controlling intelligence tore itself apart. This is unprecedented, Trell whispered. All four eyes fixed on the spectacle of Vorn. Ships in disarray, some fleeing, others adrift, many breaking apart under continued Concordance fire. This is humanity, Reed replied simply. We turned their greatest strength, their collective mind, into their greatest vulnerability. He looked at Trell. We didn't outfight them. We outthought them. As the command center erupted in cautious celebration, Lyra approached with a data tablet. Admiral, preliminary analysis suggests we've disabled or destroyed 60% of the Vorn fleet. The remainder are retreating. Pursuit? Trell asked Reed. The human captain shook his head. Let them go. They'll carry the memory of this defeat back to their collective. They need to learn that some species can't be assimilated or exterminated. They'll return, Trell cautioned. Perhaps with new adaptations. Reed's mouth formed the expression Trell now recognized as a smile, though there was no humor in it. We're counting on it, Admiral, and next time, we'll have more than one human ship waiting for them. 1 month after the Battle of Haven, representatives from all 6 concordant species gathered in the station's Grand Assembly Hall. The room had been reconfigured to accommodate a 7th delegation. The humans from Earth, with Captain Reed at their center. The walls, once displaying the 6-pointed star of the Concordance, now bore a new emblem. A 7-pointed star, with humanity's symbol integrated into the design. Admiral Trell approached the podium, his posture straight, his 4 eyes clear and alert. A far cry from the defeated official who had contemplated surrender mere weeks before. Today marks a historical turning point, he began. For decades, we believed the Vorn Imperium was invincible, that their technological superiority and collective intelligence would inevitably overwhelm all resistance. We were wrong. He gestured toward the human delegation. These newcomers, these humans, taught us that our assumptions about warfare, about adaptation, about survival itself were limited by our own experiences. They showed us that sometimes the oldest, simplest solutions are the most effective against advanced threats. Captain Reed stood next to Trell, looking somewhat uncomfortable in the formal diplomatic attire that had replaced his usual uniform. We didn't win this war, he clarified. We won a battle, an important one, but just the beginning of what must be a coordinated campaign. Indeed, Trell agreed. Our intelligence suggests the Vorn have withdrawn to their core systems to analyze their defeat and develop countermeasures. They will return, perhaps within a standard year. And we'll be ready, Reed promised. Earth has authorized full technological exchange with the Concordance. Our shipyards are already adapting your advanced propulsion and energy systems, while your worlds begin manufacturing our weapons technologies. Counselor Vex, once skeptical of human assistance, stepped forward. The Peloran Ascendancy formally proposes the creation of a new alliance, one that recognizes the unique strengths of all 7 species, including our new human allies. The proposal was met with unanimous approval from the delegates. The Galactic Concordance would evolve into the Stellar Coalition, with humanity as a full member despite their relative youth as a spacefaring civilization. After the formal proceedings, Trell found Reed staring out a viewport at the ongoing repairs to Haven Station. Human engineers worked alongside Drell technicians, their different physiologies complementing each other in the reconstruction efforts. "Your people integrate well," Trell observed. Reed nodded. "Adaptability. It's what kept us alive on Earth, and what will keep us alive out here." "I've studied your historical records," Trell admitted. "Your species' capacity for violence is troubling." "It should be," Reed acknowledged without defensiveness. "We've done terrible things to each other. But we've learned from our mistakes, mostly. And we've channeled those instincts into protection, rather than conquest." "The Vorn underestimated you because of your technological limitations," Trell said. "A mistake they won't make twice." "No," Reed agreed. "Next time they'll be prepared for our current tactics. That's why we're already developing new ones." A notification chimed on Reed's communication device. He checked it and smiled. A genuine expression of pleasure this time, not the grim determination of battle. "The first joint human concordance. Vessel has completed trials," he explained. "The resilience. It combines your FTL technology with our weapons systems and electronic warfare capabilities." "The first of many," Trell said. "The first of a fleet," Reed corrected. "Earth has opened all 5 of its orbital shipyards for Coalition production, and your people are already implementing our manufacturing techniques. Less elegant than yours, perhaps, but much faster." Trell contemplated this new reality. A month ago, 6 ancient civilizations had stood on the brink of extinction, defeated by an enemy they couldn't comprehend or counter. Now, reinvigorated by partnership with the most unlikely of allies, they prepared not just for defense, but for the eventual liberation of conquered worlds. "Captain Reed," Trell said formally, "on behalf of the Drell hegemony and all concordants, forgive me, Coalition species, I thank humanity for its intervention. Without you, we would have been lost." Reed shook his head. "Without us, you would have found another way. That's what intelligent life does. It survives. It adapts." He looked out at the stars beyond Haven. "But together, we do more than survive. Together, we thrive." As if to punctuate his words, a newly retrofitted Zith vessel passed by the viewport, its sleek organic design now complemented by the unmistakable angular housings of human railgun technology. A perfect symbol of what made this alliance unique. Not the homogenization the Vorn sought to impose, but a celebration of differences working in concert. The war wasn't over. In many ways, it had just begun. But for the first time since the Vorn appeared on the galactic stage, the future held something more valuable than advanced technology or superior numbers. It held hope.